being true to yourself in the face of adversity is admirable, something a lot of cis people might never do. Not that being cis is inherently fake, but to transition, you have to portray the expectations of those around you. Go against the grain, if you will, something a lot of people just never attempt to do. So if you're in a situation where you can't necessarily openly express yourself because of this yet, I have a plethora of things you can start doing to be happy on your way there. This video is all about social avenues and experimenting safely. Fortunately, if you have a computer, even if it's old, there's a lot you can start doing. The first thing I'll mention is something I'm incredibly passionate about, and that's Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, I'm incredibly nerdy. If you didn't expect me to say Dungeons and Dragons as the first thing I recommended, then you have completely misread me as a person. Think of playing Dungeons and Dragons like simulations for experiencing fantastical adventure and yourself in a more honest light. You might be thinking, but Yuko, being a boss bitch barbarian that can lift 500 pounds of steel to be thrown at kobolds is not me in an honest light. Well, sure, but you can self-insert who you are. And by self-inserting who you are, I mean to say self-inserting yourself if you weren't shackled by expectations and biases in your day-to-day life, at least who you think you'd be. It can be invaluable to experience interactions and scenarios through this scope, because yes, it is a simulation, but simulations are still viable ways to grow as a person. Military personnel use simulated training to fly planes because that way when they make a mistake, they can adapt as opposed to, you know, the alternative. So what I'm saying is, suspending your bias against fictional mediums as an approach will ultimately open up a new world of experience that you otherwise might not be able to enjoy right now. And who knows, you might just find a hobby to look forward to every week. I realize D&D is a difficult thing to pull off. It is, after all, dependent on people's schedules and commitment to said schedule. You already thought of the person in your imagined table scenario who won't make it because they flaked out. Maybe you are that person. If so, shame on you. Well, in this case, I have another option. MMO games with RP elements essentially tick off all the boxes that D&D has, while being more convenient. I can't express how much World of Warcraft helped me in my youth, and even my adult years when dealing with dysphoria. I would go to high school and be on the edge of my seat to get home and live my other life online, where everyone knew me as a female both in-game and behind the monitor. And yes, being recognized as female was incredibly euphoric, but the main core here was I could go to an environment where people saw me and accepted me for the way that I felt I want to represent. Not like, you know, icky real life people wanting me to wear boy clothes and shit. Not that it has any relevance to this video, but as a complete side note, it's funny thinking back and realizing exactly how out of place I always felt around my male friends. I'm keeping that in. Anyway, there's two games I can recommend as MMOs with great RP communities as of right now. That's World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV. Now, World of Warcraft does cost money, and Final Fantasy XIV, I believe you can play quite a bit of it for free, so it's ultimately up to your finances. I played WoW personally, but I hear Final Fantasy XIV is just generally better for RP. That being said, I know both games have a rich RP community, and within both those communities is a large LGBTQ presence, as well just generally more tolerable people. Now, if you do have social anxiety, I have some bad news and good news for you. First of all, it's not as easy as you think to shed those insecurities because you're playing behind an avatar, but the good news is that makes it so you can actually grow as a person as you battle these in-game. In other words, for some people, the big bad in these video games is a giant dragon or some giant goop monster, and for us, it's just human interaction. I mean, that is if you do have social anxiety. I can't speak for you. What does this have to do with transitioning, though? Well, a lot, actually. A really great reason is you can express and experience through a lens more authentic to how you feel. You can also experiment learning who you really are behind these longing feelings. I always thought I would be super bubbly and super girly, so I expressed as such, only to find out I'm much more comfortable being my nerdy self, but, you know, shedding all the male expectations pressed on me. I don't doubt you can find the same progress in your own right. Heck, even just being in an environment with a female avatar we can address the way you want and observing those around you can be incredibly interesting and euphoric, and maybe that sounds a little bit creepy, but shut up. Anyway, most RP scenes are extremely open-minded, so I implore you to take chances, allow yourself to look like an awkward baka as you grow, and reach out to communities where you hopefully will meet someone that matters to you. Naturally, Discord and other text-based communities can be good, but RP scenes are just established and offer a wider experience. Which, all of that brings me to the end game of your experimentation and exploration. The very thing that helped me decide my fate. The very game that changed my life for years to come. VR chat chat is risky. You might meet a lot of people that dislike our community, and just like in real life, you'll be face to face with these people. But there's also people that are within the community themselves, or just generally decent people. When I started, I didn't necessarily have a feminine voice, that much might be obvious. But VR chat helped inspire me to continue practicing and achieve it. But even without seeing my avatar's mouth reflect my deeper voice felt so right, natural even. Regardless of preconceived notions on appearance versus voice, I somehow preferred the deeper voice. I met some really cool people as well, some of which showed me the world isn't as intolerant as one might be led to believe. Going into private worlds was one of my favorite things. Looking down and seeing a chest and feminine clothes literally never got old. It helped give me a spark that made me fight for what I knew I needed in my life. It gave a complex feeling that treaded the gray lines of peace and happiness, a feeling of hope. I don't play VR chat anymore, nor roleplay for that matter. I do play D&D, but for the most part, not even that. But these things paved a path for me to stand where I stand now, comfortable and happy with who I am. Maybe one day I'll check out one of these communities to see all the other lost souls finding themselves through this incredible medium. Maybe that day you will be in that crowd, on your road to finding who you are. Thanks for watching my video, sub and like for more and stuff. Also, if you want to see D&D content on this channel, comment that, I guess. Okay, bye!